Welcome, Gemini, to Yellow Cardinal Tarot. This reading is for the first part of February 2024. It's a general reading. I'm going to be using the Light Seer's Tarot deck to pull 3 cards from that. And then I'm going to be using the Rider-Waite to clarify. And then at the end, I'm going to be using the Sacred Creator's Oracle to pull an oracle for you. Now, in my reading, I have 3 parts to it, and the first part is all about the situation that you're sitting in. So maybe there's a pattern that's showing up in your life. Maybe there's a difficult decision you need to make. There's just something going on that you need some help with, and that's what I'm here for, just to give you some guidance from the tarot as to what you need to do to sort of get yourself out of this situation. And then to help you with that situation, I'm going to look at your shadow. We're going to be doing some shadow work in this reading. Now, if you're new to shadow work, and if you don't really have an idea what I'm talking about, or if you just want some more information, I'm going to link this video called The Powerful 4-Step Guide for Shadow Work right here. And it is a video I made myself. And what it is, it's a really good guide just to lead you step by step how to do shadow work. And it's really about healing your stuff. And that's what shadow work's all about, is taking that deep dive and going on your own healing journey to find out who you really are. And that's shadow work. It's taken from my other channel called Carol Cares. And it really gives you a good guide with lots of videos in there just to help you out. At the end, I'm going to ask some tarot for some guidance for you. And also what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to recommend a couple videos for you from my other channel, Carol Cares. And on that channel, I have a lot of videos to do with journaling and grounding yourself, how to ground yourself. A lot to do with emotions and and how to journal, which is a lot of people really don't know how to journal from their emotions. So, and then I'll pull a card from the sacred, or I think I said that. I'm going to pull an oracle card for you at the end. All right. So what I want to start off with, in January, I put out a series of videos, and those were my 2024 yearly readings for you. And this is yours right here. And in that video, Gemini, I pulled the card for February, because in the reading I gave you 12 cards for the 12 months. And so this is the card that you got for February in that reading, and it was the Knight of Wands in reverse. All right, so that's kind of going to be our overriding theme for this first part of February for you, and also the last part, but this reading's for the first part. So let's take a look at the Knight of Wands. Now, your Knight of Wands right here is in reverse. Now, the Knight of Wands, all my knights in my deck, they're court cards. And all my knights are what I call my freedom fighters. And those are the adolescent part of us inside that just wants to be free, right? That wants freedom. And if you think about adolescents, they are, they really want to be free to be themselves. And so when the knights come up in my deck, it really is a question to you, because it's a part of you that wants to be free. Wants to be free, and because it's the Knight of Wands, this is the fiery knight that wants to be free to take their life in a new direction, that wants to be free to search out a purpose, to find a purpose in their life. And it's a real creative knight. And when I mean creative, I don't mean that you're going to go out and necessarily start a project. I mean, you might be starting a new business. You might look at another area that you've sort of discovered something, a gift that you didn't know you had, and you want to kind of go in that direction. Or it could just be starting a new lifestyle, changing your life a little bit, changing it up, switching it up, getting some freedom in your life so that you can do that. But it's in reverse here for you in February. So that means there is a real blockage here. And probably I'm going to say that comes with sometimes some anger because there's something that you want to do, but you're feeling a bit angry because you can't do it. Think of a young an adolescent that wants to do what they want to do, and they're angry. And they're also a bit feeling hopeless. So maybe you're sitting this February in a position where you may be feeling angry, you may be feeling a bit hopeless in the situation that you're in because, you want some freedom and we're going to look at what's going on with that freedom you want. You want some freedom to be you in a certain area in your life. Maybe you have a decision to make around it. There's patterns that are showing up for you, and we're going to find that out in the second part of this reading. That's your shadow, and that's what you need to look at in order to figure out, how to get out this situation that you're in. So let's look. We'll start with the Light Seer's Tarot, and I'm going to ask the tarot right now for 3 cards, and we'll see what comes up. I usually like to do one at a time. Ooh, that didn't work out so well. That's okay. We'll do that again. And so let's start off with an overall card to see what sort of situation or pattern you're sitting in right now in your life, what issue is coming up for you. So let's have 1 card for that. Ask the tarot for 1 card, and if it flips up, I take it. I like when it flips out of the deck. This one fell out, so we're going to go with that one. This is the Emperor that came up for you. All right. So that's the overriding situation that you're sitting in right now. It's an interesting card for you. In your shadow now, I need 1 card for your shadow, please. 1 card. And then too many cards there. I want 1 card. 1 card, please. First one came out nice and quick. These ones don't always come out. I don't know if it's because I'm asking for 1 card. And so here, he did come out. The Devil came out here in your shadow. Okay. And finally, advice from the tarot, please. 1 card for advice from the tarot. And this is the Hierophant. Hierophant came out. 3 very interesting cards. And I will say right now, before I pull clarifiers, Gemini, for these 3 cards. These are 3 major arcana cards. So major arcana cards for me are like these universal, these are archetypes they're not qualities in you. They're not parts of you. They are universal forces, the energy from the universe that's sort of having an effect on you, right? So they're kind of, because they exist, they're kind of going to move you and direct you in your life without maybe you even realizing that it's happening or that it exists. And they are interesting when you look at them. And you have 3 incredibly interesting ones right here that are coming up for you. So there's definitely, for the first part of February for you, Gemini, I'm really seeing that there's some real shifts and changes that are wanting to happen for you in February. And it's understandable because this Knight of Wands for February is the fiery knight. And like I said, he's probably sitting in some real anger and some hopelessness, and he wants some freedom. And this is you. There's a part of you that wants some freedom here that's sitting in this. And so there are changes that are happening here for you, Gemini, in the first part. I mean, this is incredible. The three major arcana cards here for your themes of the 3 areas I'm going to be looking at for you. All right, so let's start off with some clarifiers from the Rider-Waite deck here for, we're going to start off with the Emperor. I want some clarifiers for the Emperor, and I usually take 3. So let's 3 cards for the Emperor, please. Oh, there's one that came out. Ooh. It's the 9 of Wands in reverse. Okay, so we're going to put that. Let me just fix this so that you can see it. Just set up this camera today, and I was stressed when I started to do my readings because I really wanted to do this for you because I think it's important that you see your cards. just makes the reading more interesting. I just have the tendency to show them to the camera all the time, and then I have to remember where I put them, and then sometimes I'd show them and forget that they were reversed. So, yeah, I need 2 more cards, please. I'm happy with this setup, I think, if it works out. Oh, this one came out. Page of Swords. I like when they just fall in my lap, kind of. There's the other card for you. Clarification for the Emperor. And 1 more card, please. 1 more card. This one flipped up. So 6 of Wands. All right. And let's look at the Devil. Clarification for the Devil, please. Too many cards. Oh, these 2 came out, so I can take these 2. 2 of Wands. And the Page of Cups. Let me just move these over a bit. Okay. And 1 more for the Devil, please. 1 more for the Devil. 1 more clarifier for the Devil. 1 more card, please. You have 2 more. The Knight of Wands in reverse. And I will take the 2. Oh, and the Knight of Swords. Oh, interesting that you got the Knight of Wands here again. And the Knight of Swords. I can just see, I mean, just the fact that you have those 2 those 2 knights in your shadow. There's definitely like a real sense of freedom, of wanting that freedom. Maybe as an adolescent, you know, I'm wondering if, you know, you came from a controlling environment where you just had this you wanted to do something as an adolescent, or you just felt like, you know, you wanted to take your life in a certain direction and maybe just you didn't have the ability to do that. You weren't allowed to. The Hierophant. Clarification for the Hierophant, please. Three cards, please, from the tarot. Here's 1. All right, the Chariot. 2 more, please. 2 more. Woo! It gave me 3 here. I'm going to take these 3. Oh, this might be a bit of a long reading for you. 5 of Wands, the Ace of Swords, and the Page of Wands. Okay, I'm going to move this. Don't always take them, but I will. Okay, so let's now clarify that with an oracle at the end. Okay, so what situation are you sitting in right now, Gemini? The Emperor. Oh, the Emperor comes out. The Emperor card. It's a major arcana card, so it's not a quality that you have. But what's coming into question right now for you, what issue you're looking at, what situation you're dealing with, the Emperor represents laws of society. Like, what's coming up for you is you are being asked, and remember, you know, this whole freedom kind of being blocked with you. I'm seeing this is a real issue. This is a real something you're dealing with here, is just wanting to be freedom, to be you, to do what you want. And it seems to be screaming here right now at you. And the Emperor is those rules that we learn from society. And the Emperor talks about, he's quite comfortable here. He's sitting on the world as if, or maybe it's the moon. I'm not sure what it is here, maybe, but he's quite comfortable in where he's going to place his next piece, right, with his chess card. And the Emperor is the number 4. It's a real stable card, real rigid, right? Really rigid. And so when we grow up and we have these ideas of, and society teaches that. We learn that from, our parents and or our guardians, whoever taught us when we were younger, what the rules were. And so when we grow up with rules, we really live in this square, right? This really rigid, and don't go out of the box. It's a box. Don't go out of the box. And it's interesting because even when we leave our family, a lot of times we bring that with us. And then we go home and visit our family and we were back in the rules of what, they taught us, or how we're meant to live, whether they're cultural rules, whether they're societal rules, or they're just the rules of society. And there are rules that need to be followed in society, but there are other rules that need to be broken. And because when we adopt these societal rules, like this is what society thinks of how we're supposed to do things, well, it's not always like that. And I think this is what you're up against right now. It's something like, it could be anything that society doesn't, and things have changed so much, right? Especially when I was younger, and now I'm realizing it could be something like, certain jobs that only, females could do, or certain jobs that only males could do. And that's what society said. So if you wanted to become, let's say, a nurse when you were younger, well, that was something that females did, right? Males didn't do that. But things like that have changed. So there's certain rules that need to be broken, right? And accepting, what it is about you that you've grown up with from your own family or society when you grew up, that was just not accepted. And now you're realizing that, this is what's coming into play here, is that, maybe there's something you want to do, something you want to be. And society, the rules that you grew up with are saying, no, you don't do this. No. And so you're battling with that, right? You're battling with that. And I'm seeing that this battle that's going on is the 9 of Wands here, right? And you can see that this person has been through battle. They have the bandage on their head. And it's about Wands it's the number 9. So it's the initiation in number 10, where you take the wands and you just, you're going to go out into that world and show the world who you are. And the wine, you have been through battle. You've been struggling with this, whether it's been, and it's because of, what society has told you that you're not allowed to do. And you've been battling that. And that's in reverse right now. And so that is what's blocking you right now, is the fact that, you have these belief systems that society's taught you, and you're really having a struggle, an inner battle with yourself. There's something you want to do. And then the Page of Swords comes up. The Page of Swords comes up here, right here. And I can see that it's something you want to do, because the universe has on offer for you. This is an offer I was thinking it was the Ace of Swords. The Page of Swords. The Page of Swords is the younger part of you. The pages for me are that younger part of you that is just dying to be authentic, to be real, to be you. And that's what the swords are all about. So you are sitting in a real situation here where you know, there's something that, like I said, you've been battling with, something that a belief system where you've been taught or society has said, no, this isn't allowed. Whatever it is in your situation, it's a general reading. And the Page of Swords, and there's a real, you know, inner part of you that wants to be authentic and real and wants to come out. I mean, maybe you do need to come out. You know, maybe you're coming out of the closet. And, you know, you've been raised with, nah, it's not allowed, right? So, I mean, that did come out. The word come out came. So, the Six of Swords is your next card here for the situation that you're in. Whew, that's a heavy one, because the Six of Swords is, in this picture, it depicts someone taking, it looks like a figure of a woman and a child, to a safer place, right? Because you have this rough water here going on. Water's all about emotions too, right? And you're looking for somewhere to go where it's just, you know, smoother waters, calmer. And you're taking yourself to a safer place. And so I'm seeing that there are thoughts here of you wanting to take yourself, distance yourself from people. Because a lot of times when we're wanting to make that decision for ourselves, when we know we need to make that decision for ourselves, it's just because it really does haunt us, right? It doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. It keeps coming up and it haunts you and it haunts you and it nudges. It's like a universal nudge, right? But it's time. You're sitting here and you're going, this is time for me. I'm going to take myself. You could physically be moving. You know, maybe you're living with somebody, a partner. Maybe you're living with family still. You're living with people that are not validating you. And you're realizing, you know what? I need to sort of separate myself. And sometimes it could be as simple as giving yourself some space from people. Or it could be the other end of the spectrum where you go no contact with people. Because these people that you go no contact with or that you're separating yourself from will not validate you, will not support you in that decision that you want to make. And that's what we need to do sometimes, you know. A lot of times too, there's a lot of gaslighting that might go on, a lot of invalidation that might go on when we decide that we're going to go in the direction that we want to go with. And especially when we're dealing with, you know, this Emperor card that tells me that there's certain rules there that you've been raised with that now you're going against, right? You're going against. And this speaks volumes, your Knight of Wands here. Speaks volumes of that freedom that you want to be you, to take your life in a new direction. Let's look at what's in your shadow. Now, your shadow will have, certain things will come up. Certain things will be sitting in that shadow that you need to heal sometimes before you can take your life into that new direction that you want to go. So the Devil comes up here as your first card. And the Devil for me, I mean, look at this figure here. He has his hand out. And it's almost this creepy feeling of, you know, follow me. And it's a real temptation card. And so the Devil, when it comes up for me, and that's your shadow, where it looks like you have certain attachments, certain desires that have taken over your life. And that can mean addictions. And we all have addictions. I don't care who you are. We all have addictions. Some of us, you know, whether you're in, you know, your addiction is alcohol. My big addiction was food. I am an overeater and a binger. And, but I've been cross-addicted with so many other addictions. And I've had to work through that. Once I started to, and when I really got into therapy 7 years ago for my complex trauma, real intensive therapy, And one of the things that came up often, because my big addiction was overeating, I would often go to my life coach and say, listen, like, what do I do with my overeating? Like, how do I cure this, right? And how do I cure this? And I was told that as I worked through my trauma, as I worked through my stuff, this would sort of heal itself organically. And so my life coach wasn't one that every time I'd come to her and say, you know, I binged or I overate, or, you know, if I were an alcoholic, I would say, you know, and sometimes I did turn to alcohol, and I'd say, you know, I've been drinking a lot lately, and it was not something that she would slap me on the wrist for and say, you know, you got to stop. You can't stop. And she wasn't one that believed in stopping cold turkey. I mean, sometimes we do if it's drugs that are really getting us, you know, into difficulty, and we need to go get some help for it. Or alcohol, or, I mean, there's so many addictions out there. And so I'm seeing that you are struggling with attachments, with addictions that are taking up, that are kind of running your life right now. And that is because there's a lot of pain in your shadow. And that's what addictions do, right? They just help us numb that pain. And we use our addictions to numb our pain because we don't want to look at it. It's that simple. And when I started looking at a lot of my stuff, that's when my overeating, it just organically became less and less and less and less of an addiction for me, of a problem for me. And it's not something that I tried to control. I mean, as much as I could, but I had to heal. And so I see here that I'm looking at your shadow, and what sort of pain is in your shadow that's sort of related to you wanting to separate, take yourself in a new direction somewhere, maybe remove yourself from people. What's in your shadow? What's in your shadow that's causing you this pain? And the two of wands comes up first of all. You know, I see that you have a little, you're starting to think about, there's a decision here that you need to make. You've been thinking about it. You've been thinking about taking your life in a new direction, doing something different for yourself. And the Page of Cups has come in, and there's an inner part of you. This is an inner part of you. This is your inner child. This is the part that's sitting in your shadow right now. You have some healing to do. You have a child part of you that wants you to get in touch with them. And children can be very creative when they're younger. And I think there was a part of you when you were younger that wanted to do something, and maybe you know what that is. And it's sitting here, and it's a gift here. You have a gift here that's sitting here in your shadow. And it's a painful, and it's sitting here, but you're covering it up with an addiction or addictions because it's very painful. It's been repressed when you were younger. Somebody told you that maybe you weren't good at it, or something came out when you were younger and it was shunned. And so you took it and you buried it. And I see this inner child here is, look at the imagination, this child that just wants to play, wants to be imaginative, and wasn't allowed to. And I'm seeing that even as an adolescent, you weren't allowed to, right? There's been a lot of controlling here, I see. A lot of controlling as an adolescent. There's been a lot of just people not allowing you to do what you wanted to do. And I can see why you're in a situation now where you're wanting to walk away. And like I said, sometimes we need to do that. We need to get some distance from, a lot of times it's our family, our family of origin. Sometimes we have to walk away from, for you to really get a hold of your life and do what you want to do. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to give you some guidance here, because I think your inner child there's a real younger part of you, and even your adolescence here, because I'm seeing that you're sitting in a lot of hopelessness, and you're sitting in some anger here because there's this fiery, this night here, there's a lot of mental energy, anger, right? Anger, and wanting to be, and wanting authenticity, and wanting to be you, and wanting to go out and do what you want to do. And so I'm feeling here, Gemini, that it's just like this burst of wanting to be you and wanting to get out, but you're feeling this real sense of hopelessness here. And what you have to remember is this hopelessness that's sitting here in your shadow, it's from your childhood and your adolescence, right? And it's coming out again in a pattern in your adult life. And that's why, and you're covering up all this pain from your childhood and your adolescence with this addiction or addictions that you have. And it's time. And I think you're feeling it February, this beginning of February. You know what? You're fed up. It's time that you're going to look at this. You're going to get in touch with that younger child of yours. You're going to get in touch with that adolescent part of you that's fucking angry. That's had enough. And you're going to get that addiction. It's going to, you're going to see that once you start feeling that hopelessness, and once you start expressing that anger in journal form, that you can, get out of this addiction that you're in. So let's look at let's look at the guidance from the tarot. Then I'm going to give you a little bit of guidance, and then we're going to pull an oracle card. So the guidance from the tarot here, let's lift these up, is the Hierophant comes up, which is fascinating. Like I said, your first 2 weeks are just powerful, Gemini. So the Hierophant card comes up. And it's very interesting that you have the Emperor and you have the Hierophant. Number 4 and number 5. Number 5 is about change and conflict. The Hierophant talks about, where the Emperor talks about the rules of society that we've picked up when we were younger, and the Hierophant talks about our inner sense of obedience. That comes from institutions, like if you belong to a religion, school. Some of you might have been homeschooled. Some of you might, this could even refer to people that were in a cult. I'm seeing a real sense of being controlled here. And this can come into play here as well. So the Hierophant is all about those institutions, religious, educational institutions that we were when we were younger, and we learned our sense of obedience from them. And so the tarot is saying, as a guidance, you need to look at that. You need to look at where you got your sense of obedience from, because this is something that you've adopted. This is not you. This is something that you've learned, and it's been ingrained in you. Brainwashed to a certain degree for some people. It's on a continuum. And I'm not here to diss any sort of religion, or it's just that's the way life is when you were raised with a religion, if you were raised in a cult, if you're an educational system. That's where we learned our obedience system. And sometimes we need to question that. I had to when I started my journey, and I had to develop my own obedience system. I had to figure out what was important for me. What were my own laws for me? Not something that somebody told me, but how do I want to be obedient? How do I want to be authentic? And the Chariot here comes up for you as your first card. And the Chariot's all about, people say, well, it's about movement. Well, yeah, it's about movement, but I think the tarot was saying, up to now, you have used your will You have used your own will, your own ego, your ego self to direct you in your life. And because this Chariot figure right here, he is using his will. He's left this walled city. You know, he has freedom. He's leaving this walled city behind, and he wants freedom to get out, but it looks like he's turning into this chariot of stone. And there's no reins here. So at any particular moment, these sphinxes aren't even going in the direction that he's going into. In any particular moment, these sphinxes could go and, you know, in any sort of direction. So what this is saying is, the tarot says, well, you know, your ego, your conscious mind, your ego can only direct you so far in life. It'll only take you so far. And at a certain point of time, you know, and I'm seeing that you're in a position here, well, in a certain point of time, there has to be another way to do what in life, what you're doing. You have been trying to control this inner part of you that wants to be free, that wants to be authentic, and you've tried to control it. You're trying to, you know, push everything down, the pain. This inner child wants to contact, you know, get in touch with you, with your addictions. And that helps us to a certain point of time. And you've tried to control this with your own mind, I see, you know, and everything that you've been taught. And I know this sounds a bit heavy. It is a heavy reading for you, Gemini, but I have 3 major arcana cards going on here, so maybe this is what's supposed to come out for you. And, you know, I think there's this 5 of Wands that's coming up in reverse, and this is the ego card. This is the battle of the egos, where you have, it's a battle of comparing yourself, and it's in reverse. And so it's in reverse because it's time to really look at this where it's not working anymore. You have this sense of unworthiness in you, that you have constantly compared yourself and judged yourself by other people. Maybe you're somebody that goes on social media a lot, because if you want a dose of comparing yourself to people, just go on social media. And you know, you got it right there. And you'll get off and you'll feel really depressed about yourself, and you think that you're going in the wrong direction all the time. And so what's screaming at me is your ego right now. You need to take a different direction. You can no longer trust your mind, because that's your ego, your mind, to take you in the direction you need to go. The Ace of Swords has come up, these next 2 cards. So the Ace of Swords has come up, and it says, here's an offer from the universe. Here's a new offer for you, and you need to take it. This is what the tarot was saying. This new offer, the sword, is all about authenticity. It's the sword that's going to cut through all the bullshit. And I'm going to call it bullshit. You have it here. You've got this. This is your inner obedience that you've been taught when you were younger. And these are the laws of society that you've been taught when you were younger. As a young child, as an adolescent. And it's time to figure out who you are. You have these 2 knights in here, in your shadow, that want freedom. That want freedom to be who you are. You know, very interesting here. Because you have the Knight of Swords in reverse, which talks about cutting through the bullshit, wanting that freedom to be you. And here's a new offer. Here's a new offer to be you. You have the Knight of Wands, which is also the February card right here. Very powerful here. This freedom that's blocked, this anger, this hopelessness that you're sitting in right now. You end with the Page of Wands. Well, the Page of Wands is that younger part of you. You have a younger part of you that's screaming at you. This is your little love seeker. This is the one that wants your attention. You also have another younger part of you that is the Wands, that wants to take their life in another direction. That wants to be creative. That wants to create a new life. And so I'm seeing, Gemini, for you, Oh, powerful beginning here. However, in the tarot, what's given to you is these two cards. Powerful cards here, the Chariot and the Five. Both of them are taking your life in a new direction. This ego part of you needs to die, needs to start to die. This judgment, this comparing yourself, this battle of the ego needs to die here. Because what's on offer here is a new start for you to find out who you are. But what you need to do is you need to start getting in touch with this inner child here that's sitting in your shadow. And I'm going to suggest for you to learn how to journal, because I want you to start to journal from two things here. I'm going to give you a playlist on journaling. The playlist is going to teach you, first of all, how to journal from your emotions. And then there's going to be two little videos in there that are going to tell you how to journal from your anger and how to journal from your hopelessness. Because for depression, I'm not sure which one it is that you could be dealing with both of them. So journaling is going to be a big thing. That is what's going to free you from these emotions that are sitting here, these painful emotions that you have sitting inside of you. And that's what you're blocking right here with the devil. That's what you're blocking with your addictions. All right? So I see an amazing beginning here for you that's just going to cut through this bullshit that, what you've been taught when you were younger. It's not true. It's not true. None of it's true. And you're going to cut through that bullshit. You're going to do it. So I'm going to give you, I want journaling, and you're going to focus on journaling from anger and journaling from futility. And there's writing prompts in there that I give you also to help you with that. Now, let's end it, Gemini. And I hope this resonated with you, this reading. If it did, I would appreciate it if you put a comment below, let me know. And that really lets me know, how I'm doing. It is a fairly new channel. I started it last December 2023. So we're new here. So let's pull a card from the Sacred Creator's Oracle for you. I'm going to pull it. Hopefully it comes out. If not, I'll have to take it from the top. And then I'm going to read to you. Okay, let's do it this way. We'll see if it pops out. Okay, I'll take it from the top, and then we're going to, wow. Shift the way to new potential. So let's read that, 29. I think I'm feeling a shift for you for sure. I think you've probably felt it as well. All right. Shift the way to new potential. We are in a time of massive evolution. Old ways of thinking are being replaced by a new awareness, and luminous leaders with novel ways of being in the world are necessary at this time. You are being called to lead with your gifts, your skills, your voice, and your spirit, and to gracefully navigate these uncertain yet exciting times. Explore and express your calling and make the shift into living and breathing your purpose. If your soul feels restless, it is because the progress of this shift, your genius, Gemini, has been slower than necessary. Know that your shift will be a catalyst for those who witness your journey. When we see other souls standing in their power, in their luminosity, we are reminded of who we are, ourselves, can be. Shift the way for us, light worker. Shift your focus from you to them and notice that you can do for the greater good of those around you. Your best offering in the world relies on solving a problem for others, on loving them shift. It's time for you to boldly step up to help accelerate human consciousness and leave your positive mark on the world. You know what was powerful for me from this, where it talked about old ways of thinking are being replaced by a new awareness. And I thought of you, Gemini. I thought of these old ways right here. These old ways are being replaced by new ones. And this is why you're sitting in this devil energy in your shadow, why you have these addictions, why you have, it's so powerful, your reading. I think it's time. You want to shift. You simply want to shift, and this is the shift right here. This is the cutting through the bullshit that's going to take that shift, and you're going to do that through your journaling. Take care, Gemini. I'll see you in about 10 days. Bye-bye.